So AEW's All Out is in the books, and I know everybody today is talking about ESPN cooking WWE's own show, given that this is the start of a new partnership and everything. I'm going to talk about that on tomorrow's episode. Today, I got your AEW All Out hot takes. Let's dive into them. Now, the funny thing about AEW's All Out this year is that it obviously went not head-to-head, but on the same day as WrestlePalooza. Tony Khan moved the time from like normal pay-per-view time to the evening back to like afternoon. And he said in a press conference afterwards, apparently, that he's looking into this being kind of a normal thing for people over in Europe to watch it in a more digestible way. And of course, obviously here, even in the United States, if he wants to go along with a pay-per-view, which he sometimes does, it'd be kind of nice for like the East Coast not to have to stay up until 1 o'clock on like a Sunday if it runs on a Sunday. I think this time it ran on a Saturday though. But regardless, you know, people want to go out and maybe do stuff. In any event, the one thing that I sort of observed about All Out, and kind of in your thread in the comments as well about the hot takes, is that not a lot of actual hot takes. And I'm not saying that like, oh, there was nothing controversial about the show. I don't think there was anything really that like warranted a super hot take. So we got a lot of reactions, but generally speaking, people really enjoyed All Out. But it wasn't like there were a bunch of like huge surprises or creative booking decisions that left people like, oh, this could have gone this way or this way. So let's go ahead and just dive into them and see what people have to say. First up, Gorilla Mon says, Triple Bald's got to take notes. Is that what we're calling Triple H now? Triple Bald? I'm not even an AEW guy, but that's what an enjoyable wrestling program looks like. Yeah, that was actually one. There was several hot takes like this where it's like, hey, you know what? I'm actually a WWE guy, but this was fairly enjoyable. The big question in terms of like, you got both these shows on the same day is it possible for WWE to take away from the All Out buzz by simply dropping a giant turd? Today, ESPN gave WrestlePalooza a C rating. Said, it didn't live up to expectations, which is wild given that it aired on ESPN's app. And then, like I said, I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Or I'm also going to talk about it on the Going in Raw podcast today. After Monday Night Raw is done, me and Larson are going to go live over there to talk about ESPN and WWE and what they thought of the show. And then we're going to give the Raw review. But getting back to this, like, if WWE, because you imagine like you have the finger poke of doom, which I don't think that's what this was, but you imagine back in the day, 99, you got the finger poke of doom, and then you got Mankind winning the title. What if that Raw was just sort of like a normal Raw? It was like, okay, we didn't really do anything like completely out of the ordinary. It was just a solid show. People enjoy Raw, right? And on WCW, you got the finger poke of doom. Well, they steal all the buzz because of that. That's what this kind of is like. Like WWE stole the buzz by doing something bad. Does that mean they won? I don't know. I really, in terms of like the head-to-head, like the WWE versus AEW thing, I saw a lot of really positive buzz about All Out. So maybe it's much ado about nothing. Maybe they did in fact win. But it's just kind of interesting that the conversation still revolved around WWE. It was just in a negative way. But is that a good thing or bad thing for AEW? I don't know. Discuss in the comments, maybe. What's up next? We've got, here we go. Undead S'more says, Mox Darby was my match of the night. You know what I can appreciate about the Mox Darby coffin match? Is that it was probably, well, it wasn't the biggest, like, sort of, oh my God, crazy spot match. But it was probably, this is the second time I've used this word, the most easily digestible match. Because those coffin matches, it's just sort of shit that's like, oh my God. Oh, God. There was that, and there was the tag team ladder match as well, which was a crazy, oh, my God match as well. And the triple threat for the unified title as well. Kind of fell under that as well. It was like, oh, my gosh, all this crazy cool shit going on. But the coffin match is a very easily digestible thing, you know, and I like that about it. So, yeah, I really enjoyed that match as well. Mr. Economics. No, Mr. Economics. No, Mick Economics. It took me 3 times. I don't know what my brain was thinking on that one. Says Jurassic Express return was such a happy moment. All right, so here's my hot take. I hated it. There's Steve's hot take on the Jurassic Express thing. I was not a fan, man. Number one, I really enjoyed Jack Perry as scapegoat Jack Perry. I thought he was the only guy that sort of took really good creative advantage out of the CM Punk AEW debacle and turn it into something. And I don't know if Tony Khan just didn't know really what to do with that. But I really kind of like Jack Perry as a bad guy. I thought it kind of suited him pretty decently, especially the earlier version of Scapegoat where he was like just sort of a dick. He was kind of an arrogant heel guy. I kind of like that version of Jack Perry, but that's not what we're getting. Now, he's a good guy because he attacked the Young Bucks. And Luchasaurus, who had already returned as Killswitch. The only difference is he had a belt with the name Killswitch on it. Returned. He came back again a couple weeks after he already came back. So that did not resonate with me at all. And I'll be honest with you, I forget who sings that song. No offense. I fucking hate that song. Is it Styx? No, Styx had the video package on WrestlePalooza. I don't know who does that song. I can't stand that song. I hate it. I never liked the whole jungle theme. I didn't like, little Marco stunt who was just around to take a bunch of bumps. I never liked Jurassic Express. I kind of like the Scapegoat, though. So having them regress back into Jurassic Express does absolutely nothing for me. Have noticed, I swear to God, if that dude shows up in a loincloth, I'm going to be pissed off because I really like the Scapegoat stuff. So hopefully they're able to do something new with Jurassic Express. But I don't know. We'll see. Next up, what is this? Oh, Queen MAB666. Sign of the Devil. Says no one else mentioned it, but I love that they let language fly on the pay-per-views. From commentary to in-ring to backstage, everyone was dropping F-bombs throughout the night, and it was glorious. Yeah, we need to loosen up on the language here in the United States. We're very, prudish when it comes to saying fuck on television, and it's jarring and kind of cool to actually hear the word come out of people's mouths, especially when Bryan Danielson said, I know I'm supposed to be unbiased on commentary, but fuck it, let's go Darby. I thought that was pretty great. I thought that was good stuff. So yeah, I agree. More fucks. Speaking of Danielson, an obvious weirdo says Bryan Danielson has been on commentary for like 2 weeks and he's already my vote for announcer of the year. He had so much. Yeah, Danielson's just an absolute natural. He's a natural at anything pro wrestling. So I like that. Also, he said fuck. Gareth says Mascara Dorada stole the entire show. Who'd have thought adding this guy to that Okada Takeshita match would be such a seamless blend of whatever the fuck that was, because my God, that match was awesome. Probably it was like kind of my co-match of the night along with the ladder match for the tag titles, because oh my God, that was awesome also. But my biggest takeaway from the Okada Takeshita Dorada match was Takeshita Okada, because their singles feud is going to be awesome. This is actually, if they execute this well in terms of like the story, the fact that they're in the same faction, they've got this beef, they really don't like each other. Don Callis is not going to be able to keep this under control. I'm really looking forward to that singles match right there. And maybe, just maybe, if they're able to try to maybe elevate this unified title a little bit more, have that main event like a pay-per-view. Make it feel big. I think that'd be awesome. It shouldn't be their Intercontinental Championship. That should be the TNT title. This should be like a co-world championship because Okada has it. Let's see here. What else? Here we go. Ryan has Sharpie says Statlander's title reign was long overdue. I think a lot of people would agree with this one. I personally feel she should have been the person to dethrone Mercedes in their second match. And the nature of, I think somebody else has a hot take here. Here it is. Cassius Maximus says Statlander's title win felt a little weird. It was so shocking that it left me wondering if it was a botched pinfall. Would have expected the title to change hands in a singles match, if anything. I think they want to keep Statlander a good guy for now, which is why they would do the title change, I think, this way. But it wouldn't surprise me if Wheeler Yuta was successful in recruiting her over to the Death Riders now that it seems like they're expanding their ranks. Her being sort of like a bad guy champion with Willow potentially as a contender and potentially the person to dethrone her, I think would not be a terrible idea. But people love Statlander, so I'm not sure how the crowd would react to her becoming a bad guy. I just don't know. That being said, this is well-deserved. She is a tremendous wrestler. Some of the best matches they've had in AEW over the past year or so has been Statlander matches. So I'm not hating on this at all. But yeah, I feel like maybe in a one-on-one, this would have been kind of a cooler thing because Right now, if you do Statlander, Tony Storm, prior to this match, of course, you do that match and you're like, oh, Tony's going to win this one, of course. And then Statlander pulls off a win. That's kind of a big deal. And then who knows what happens to Tony now that she's lost it. I think that's kind of cool too. But yeah, doing it within the context of a fatal 4-way, you know, I like the idea that Tony sort of bit off more than she could chew. You know, she said, oh, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And now she has to actually regret it, as opposed to how they usually do these fatal 4-ways where, you know, either the bad guy champion is forced into it or the bad guy champion just does it like Mox did with the Death Riders in his title a year ago or last year, whenever it was. In this case, Tony asked for it, and you got to be careful what you ask for sometimes. So I guess that's the lesson learned there. Nerd Cubed, Dan himself says, I thought Pac was Wade Barrett. He does kind of look like a little distorty version of Wade Barrett. I really wish that, Dan, you were doing a live reaction, because I would have loved to have heard you say, oh my God, it's Wade Barrett. I thought he was doing commentary for SmackDown. That's such a horrible Nerd Cube. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm sorry. That's such a horrible impression of you, sir. Oh my God, I thought that was Wade Barrett. Oh God. I hope he doesn't watch this. Dan, don't watch this. Bucket Dipper says short-haired clothed Pac might be scarier than long-haired ring gear Pac. Oh my God, it's Wade Barrett. I gotta stop. Hipster Chandler says, I love it at Kingston. That match was rough. Boy, you tell me. Oh my God. That spinning back fist finish that just hit nothing whatsoever. Like, dude, you got to pick the guy up and give it to him again because, you know, it just whiffed. It whiffed. Be like, get up, Bill. Get up, Bill. Yeah, that match was kind of rough, to be honest with you. Dude's been out for 16 months. Maybe there's going to be a little bit of ring rust. I don't know what the deal. Eddie's incredibly popular. I don't know why they would have brought him back in this manner where it was just a couple of Big Bill promos on Collision. And then Eddie's back. And maybe it's like sort of a wait and see. Be like, okay, are you okay? Are you doing good? We're going to bring you back and this, you know, you're going to be okay. A wait and see thing for his matches, maybe? I don't know. But I feel like Eddie should have been brought back in a more impactful manner. But I do like the idea that him and Hook might be having like some sort of faction situation. Parsat says Cope kicking out of about 10 finishers to then win with a single spear was far too much. Yeah. It seemed like Christian Cage was supposed to like prevent the second Shatter Machine from happening. Because I thought on that second one, I was like, oh, for sure, this is done now. I'm surprised they let him kick out of the one Shatter Machine, to be honest with you. I feel like the end of that match was not the way it was supposed to go. That being said, I love Beth Copeland coming out, showing up, getting rid of Stoke, and then like, you know, taking on FTR. Thought that was a great angle. And so adding that little bit of soap opera WWE bullshit into it, I thought elevated, at the very least, the angle after the match. I thought was really, really well done. The match itself was fine. I like Edge, you know, throwing a shout out to John Cena. I thought that hit me right here. I was like, oh, look at that. That's really nice, isn't it? Diabetic Man says Mark Briscoe should be moved into the Ospreay swerve spot that's opened up after that match with MJF. That was a great babyface performance by him. I wonder how far they're going to go with Briscoe in terms of being like winning wrestling guy. This really surprised me because I've always viewed Briscoe as like AEW Sheamus. Loved by the crowd, will always, doesn't matter with who, will always give you a great match. But like they're only going to go so far pushing him. Now I don't know. How far are they going to go? I wonder what it would take, at least for me, to get that out of my head that it's like, oh, this guy's only going to go to a certain point and then like lose. He's going to have a certain ceiling. I thought MJF was a ceiling. And then MJF lost the damn thing, which is great for MJF. That's awesome for him that he would like do this because you got to figure the dude's got a lot of pull. If he don't want to lose to people, he probably doesn't have to lose to people. But this was really cool. Good for Briscoe. He's a fucking still at his age, having to transition from largely a tag team guy to a singles guy and putting on these matches that are always so physical and violent and fun. Boy, he is a hell of a wrestler. I'll tell you what. Let's see here. What else do we have? Karen Live Forever says that burning spot should have lasted longer. I don't want to see somebody burn. I thought it was a pretty shocking moment when Darby put Moxley on fire. And then I was like, okay, good. They did it correctly, so the fire went out really quickly. That was good. That's a good thing. But you're saying you wanted to see like more fire. That's pretty bad, man. Stephen Wild Scoops says I was more interested in Kill Switch versus Kip than Jack bringing back Luchasaurus. Also, some of the camera work looked bad, like with the finish of the main event. I mean, that's just sort of AEW's thing. They're still figuring out how to do that, the television thing, you know. There's always issues in AEW with that kind of stuff. For some reason, WWE just seems to have that on lock in the world of pro wrestling. Revol says, I think having spots like the screwdriver and some of the other gruesome things turn a pretty decent size of the audience off. I have 2 friends that told me they turn it off because it's too much. You need to find new friends because they seem like a couple of wussies. I'm joking, kind of. Like, come on. It's all wrestling. That's not going to do any severe damage. But point taken. If AEW is going to try to cater to the families, you know, be like, hey, WWE's too expensive. Come on down to our show. Maybe they should dial back on screwdrivers to forks to ears or whatever it is. I get it. But then, you know, man, when I was a little kid, my dad rented RoboCop and I saw that. So maybe just maybe kids should toughen up a little bit more. Really? Like they turned that off because of the fork to the ear stuff? Is that what you're referring to? You know, to each their own, I guess, to each their own. Maybe it'll turn people off. I feel like they should toughen up a little bit. Maybe not, you know. Let's see what else we have here. Choco Bro says Hangman versus Fletcher was a great match, but AEW needed more star power for a main event running the same day as WrestlePalooza. Page definitely feels more like a star compared to his first title run, but not nearly as big as Cody, Cena, or Lesnar, while Fletcher still feels like an up-and-comer. Here's my counter to this. AEW simply doesn't have the marquee value in their names. They don't have that. They can't rely on that. There's nobody they could have put in that spot. Like Christian Cage. I'm just trying to think of like, you know, and then you're relying on ex-WWE names. I guess you could have done like a Hangman versus Okada. But it's not like Okada's a Brock Lesnar name. So I get what you're saying, but I really actually appreciate that AEW is like, look, WWE is going to give spectacle and marquee value. And there's a good chance they're going to shoot themselves in the foot, which they totally did with Brock Lesnar. AEW, they've got wrestling. So they looked for somebody who would be helped by this match, who could put on a 40-minute banger